So you said at the end you drink a glass of milk in the house of the beloved. Can you translate this last part? ويدوك الهلاوة.
هذه إذا Sufi, this gathering is the place or the home of Prophet, and those who come, they may be شفاء.
بارك الله فيكم. جزاكم الله خير. À la prochaine, Inch'Allah.
may be healed.
La guérison.
La guérison. Sont guéris. Et
Alaykoum
salam. C'est une voie de guérison. Il n'y a pas de... Il n'y a pas de...
Merci. Allah, 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 Aziz Allah, 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 Kareem Allah, 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 Subhanallah, Allah, 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 Sultanallah. Welcome to, as he said, gathering in a gathering, a humble gathering. Might be a few people only, but our master said, if a group gathers seeking to remember the divine presence, angels will roam looking for this gathering. He said, like a phone roaming, it looks for the signal, finds it. Also angels, they look in the streets, they roam the streets, it says in the tradition, and they look, a group sitting, remembering the divine presence, and they will encompass that group up until the divine throne. English is okay for everyone? Then it will be less long. The support of heavenly enlightened ones. If we have their support, there should come a enlightenment to our hearts, a refreshment to our hearts, and grant us a light to the rest of our life to find our realities. And Sufism or spirituality or the path, tariqah we call it, is a way to find our reality in the divine presence. وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. Quran says, we created you for divine service, to be honored servants, for not for a temporary life that we're thinking now 30 years, 40 years, some live 100 years or 120 years, and no, he said, I created humanity for eternity, and I send them to this life into a temporary life, into a body, into a time and a place, to find their realities, so that when they left this life, they will find their way. And every human being, in reality, he said, is created to find this reality. And in Naqshbandi Tariqa, our path, we have different spiritual practices, that our master and masters of the way gave to seekers, how to connect and how to raise ourselves up to find our way. And our path is named Naqshbandi after one of the great masters from Bukhara, from Central Asia. His name was Shah Naqshband. And his spirituality as a saint was so high that the path took his name. Like everyone knows the Buddha, because he was a king, and he was in his palace, but there was something in his life missing, our master said. And he wanted to find himself. But he knew that if he didn't lose himself first, he will not find himself. So Maulana Sheikh Hisham, our master and guide and saint that he's living now, he said, you need to lose yourself to find yourself. And he gave the example of the Buddha, who he was a king. He left his palace, he left his kingdom, and he went out into the world seeking enlightenment. And he said he sat 40 years under a tree in meditation, in fighting his ego, his nafs, we call it in Sufism, till through mujahada, through striving, he was able to reach enlightenment. Till today we are knowing his way, that we call it the way of the Buddha. And we will speak today a bit about our path, and an important, in the first principle of our path, is awareness of breath. So, why it is the first practice in our way, or first principle? He said because the most important spiritual practice is to be aware of the breath. And they call it in our path Hosh Dar Dam, which is a Persian, 3 words in Persian that mean mind in breath. To have the mind to be conscious of each breath. And it is said by our masters that each breath we should be aware of each inhalation and each exhalation, as the breath is what connects us all to the divine presence. So they say that the one who lost his breath, as if he lost himself. And today we find ourselves, we are all lost on earth, because we are running around without awareness of the biggest gift that the divine presence gave us, which is our breath. And in all spiritual paths you find this practice is central, and it's been forgotten today. So to find ourselves, he said, we need to be aware of this breath. And he said that each breath we should be inhaled with awareness, to be grateful for each breath, and to know that this breath is coming with love from the divine presence. And they said that when you inhale, physically we know now that pure oxygen is coming in and purifying all the cells of the body and bringing purification into the body and coming out all the impurities out of the body. And similarly, it is said that each time a human being breathes in, divine light is entering his system, spiritual, his soul, and coming out spiritual impurities. Therefore, every human being, it said, is making zikr. Zikr is, we can call it a mantra, or to remember the divine presence through different names and attributes. Whenever we are breathing, unknowingly we are remembering the divine presence. We will go into that more after with the sound of Hu. SubhanAllah. And the breath in Arabic is called an-nafs al-rahmah. It is a wind of the soul that comes with mercy, or some they say like the ebb and flow of a river. When it's flowing, it's coming in every moment to a human being, something from the divine breath. And that's why we say in the Naqshbandi tradition, our masters taught us that the length of a human's life is not his number of years, but is his how many breaths he has. So if we are able to be aware of the breath, we will live fully in each moment. And our masters, they taught that the breath is the first principle and the last principle of the path. And you find this in yogic and Buddhist and Vedantic traditions, and especially in Sufism. And our masters have taught us that every day has 24,000 breaths. And they taught us to try to be aware of each one, how difficult it is. Means every hour there are 1,000 breaths coming. And Shah Naqshband, he said, the ways to the divine presence for us as human beings are as glorious and unlimited for each human in each breath. Means 7 billion people times 24,000. What is this? A number no one knows. In every day there are how many paths to the divine? But we are unaware. So to become aware of what is already there, to be mindful, this is the first principle of our way, of the Naqshbandi way. And he said especially to know that this breath is a gift from the divine presence. And that when we give thankfulness for each breath, he said, our Grand Sheikh, Sheikh Abdullah Dagestani, the Sheikh of the master of our master, he reached a level where he was giving thanks for every inhalation and every exhalation. And it is said that he used to recite Quran. It is a book of divine revelation that we have of 600 pages. He used to recite whole Quran. They call it the emperor or king of meditations of zikr, with all of its spiritualities in every inhalation and every exhalation. Means he reached a state where he was no longer, as he was saying before, a slave to this world, but he was able to be in constant ascension through taking that power through each breath. So these masters, they are reminding us or calling us to focus as the first principle in our way, and anyone can benefit from this, as we are seeing today in medicine. They know and they are able to heal many diseases just with breathing and meditation. And the biggest disease that we have is not physical, but is the spiritual diseases that veil us like a cloud that comes in front of the sun and you cannot see it shining anymore. Sun is there. So in Sufism, like we were saying, the Buddha, he was sitting under a tree, and these lungs, they are a tree, means to be sitting and struggling. Each human being, all of us, myself first, we are in a beautiful struggle. We can say it's beautiful. Why? Because it's a gift. God created us, the Divine Presence created us with a soul, and when we came into this world, the shadow, now we are seeing the shadow of the soul, came our ego. And the Divine said, I am calling you back to my presence to give you something more. To go to that's why we say in the path, we try to remember the Divine, to make zikr, because we forgot our reality in the Divine Presence. So the Prophet Muhammad, he said, the biggest struggle is within our own self. How to transform ourselves to reach enlightenment. So he said, Hosh Dardam begins by sitting and breathing in and out and observing the breath. And we may take 5 minutes or 10 minutes on our own, and eventually we can come back to this practice anytime during the day and night, at all times. Like zikr, to say Allah or La ilaha illallah, different practices, it might begin by, we're going to do after chanting of these names. We have also these practices to do on our own, 24 hours, and in group. He said eventually it should fill up to 24 hours, that all of your body and soul will be in divine remembrance of those names. He said, Maulana Shaykh Hisham, our master, when a saint first reaches enlightenment, he is able to see all of his cells, trillions of them, and the divine remembrance, zikr that they are making. And he is able to take wisdom from each one of those cells and organs and everything, first from within himself. Sanuri ayatihim fil anfusihim wa fil anfaq. Quran says, we will show you the signs in the universe, galaxies, stars, planets, and within yourself, in the universe, that multiverse that is within us. And it is said also that the breath is an unseen power that shows us there is an unseen world, al-ghaib. It's said that faith, imanu bil-ghaib, is in what we cannot see. And the breath, we cannot see it, but it's coming to us. It's like the wind. At morning time, you can, if you wake up before sunrise, he said, Maulana Shaykh Nazim, he said, there is a special wind blowing, a breath coming from a heavenly ocean of divine presence that dressed the servant with love from the name Al-Wadud. And he said that there is in India a flower that everybody wants to reach to that flower, because if you are able to have that flower, everyone will love you. But around that flower there is a snake, and no one can, it's very difficult to reach to that flower because the snake is protecting them. He said the one who wakes up before sunrise, even wakes up, he said, for a cup of tea and sits, will take from that and be dressed from that divine love because of that breath. So imagine if there is that breath at Fajr, what about the breath that is coming from the divine in every moment to our beings? How important to be connected with these breaths that are coming. And he said, when we breathe, we make the letter Ha. We can see perhaps one calligraphy. There is. There Allah, Who. The Ha at the end of Allah, the last letter, is the sound of the breath. Who. So we may focus on each breath, hearing the sound of the letter Ha, which is Who, which is also the sound of the welcome, which is also the sound of the ney, the flute, the reed flute, which is also the sound of the wind, and we hear many sounds of this in nature. And he said that in focusing on the breath, we will leave the past moments of our life and the future moments. Because he said, why depression comes to human beings? We regret the past. Oh, I did this, I did that, I didn't do this. And we worry about the future, what will happen to me. But when we want to come into the present moment, it is through awareness of the breath and through divine remembrance, using the divine names. Together, this will be the main practice in Sufism for the seeker, to connect his heart to the divine presence. And he said, Maulana Sheikh Hisham, our master and teacher, that in reality there is only the present moment. Al-an. Al-an. Now 15 minutes ago we sat in this association. Where we reached to now, the sun moved and we are in a different manifestation. We are in a different moment. So he said, it is said also the Sufi is the son of his time. He is Ibn al-Waqt. He is the one, the real Sufi, the master, the enlightened one, that he is living in awareness in each moment and able to take the reality of that moment. And this practice of awareness of breath, it's said by our masters, is very difficult. Therefore, to ease that difficulty, the seeker may turn in humility and humbleness to ask forgiveness. And there is a famous saying by Rabi al-Adawiyah. She was a famous Sufi saint, one of the biggest saints that was sent. She said, for every astaghfirullah, means seeking forgiveness from Allah, I have to make another one to ask forgiveness for the way I ask forgiveness, and for each one I need to make another one, so I'm busy all the time asking forgiveness. Till she was raised to a level, all the scholars of Baghdad, of Basra, of the region, they were coming and sitting in her presence. And our masters, they say that if a human being cannot reach his reality in this life, the master of the Naqshbandi way, they can enter into the student, the disciple's breath, last 7 breaths. And at that time, they can open another world, can make it to be 70 years if they like, to perfect that student, to, before they leave this life, to go in a state of enlightenment. That's why it is said that to take the hand of a master is the highway to reach enlightenment, because the student has his intention, his sincerity, as we all came here today seeking the way to divine presence, seeking to gain some refreshment from the heart of those masters. But the master is able to take the student with all of our imperfections and bring them quickly to this station. And that's why it is said,
when being aware of, trying to be aware of each breath and making practices of zikr and meditation, the student is able to connect his heart with the heart of an enlightened master. That connection of light between the student and the master will raise up that student to connect with the light. For those that don't have a master, they may ask for connection with the divine presence and to ask with humility guidance to find an enlightened master. And this, we call it, this meditation is said to meditate 1 hour is worth 70 years of praying or fasting, of divine service, or cleaning plates in the temple, in the zawiya, or whatever is from worshipness, fasting, praying, traveling in the way. 1 hour to sit and meditate has a huge, and that's why to be aware of each breath is a high level of meditation, to connect ourselves with the divine breath. And this connection, this power of meditation in Naqshbandiya is called, in another word, sohbah. We are sitting now together, but we are not sitting with me. No. Our niyyah, our intention today is to connect ourselves with our master, that he is connected with his master, going to 124,000 prophets, going to divine presence, a bridge to eternity. And it is said Sufism is to become one with that master and to be dressed with his light, to drink from the eternal wine of love. This is some teachings about Hoshdarda, the first principle of our Naqshbandi Tariqa, which is awareness of the breath. Do you have any question at this time? To say anything?
It is delicious.
It is delicious. So we are going to shortly have small chanting, zikr, and some more of this heavenly music. And then if there's any question also, you can ask them. And then we'll have drink some more tea, and there's some cookies, some sweets. We are going to speak now about meditation and initiation. It is said in Sufism that to reach enlightenment, to reach purity and clarity within the heart, one needs to follow an enlightened master. Because on our own, we are weak ones. And it is said that the way to reach to enlightenment is to follow someone who is enlightened. Therefore, all of our practices that we were given, for example, we spoke about awareness of breath or meditation, they will be powerful when finding the hand of an enlightened master and following that one, that they will raise you up to reach to your spiritual perfection. And Sufism, it is based on this initiation that will open to you the water of eternal youth, Ma al Hayat. For example, we are drinking this water, and Quran says, وَجَعَلْنَا مِنَ الْمَاءِ كُلِّ شَيْءٍ حَيٍّ. We made from everything living, we made from water everything living. And just as our physical being needs water and needs breath, as we discussed already, our spirituality needs this water of eternal life, Ma al Hayat. So to quench our thirst from this water of life, it needs the initiation with a spiritual master. And tasawwuf or Sufism, or the way, or tariqah we call it, the path of seeking the reality within us. He said, our teacher, Maulana Shaykh Hisham, may Allah raise him up, he said, human being need to go inside, I-N, to the in, I-N-N. He said, within each human being is an in, where we can find the divine presence. And he said, at that time, by following an enlightened person, the heart of that person will be changed and he will become a different person. And he said, every master can give a gift and dress a different gift on each seeker, because each seeker, each servant, each person sitting here and out in the world has a different gift from the divine presence. And he said, in order to open, like you have this can of spray that is under high pressure, how do we call it? Perfumery or aerosol can. They spray it in the rooms to give a good smell. It's under high pressure. A lot of this fragrance, it needs to be released to give that fragrance. He said every human being has under high pressure within his heart 6 realities. We will not go into that now, maybe another time. These realities of the heart, they need a spiritual master that they are under compression from the ego, to decompress them, that reality can be released. At that time, if they do not veil you from these 6 realities, people from all around the earth will come to you and they won't leave you. Because one of those realities is Hakikatul Jazba. That a master can be in China or in India or in New York, and you can be in Madrid or Barcelona or Buenos Aires, and he will attract you. Like today, you came here, I came here. What brought us to this? Some they came, they left. Those that they were written to be in that assembly means the light of those masters, known or unknown, attracted, because their heart has no more of that egoistic pressure. They are free. Like we say, it is said, another one of those realities is Hakikatul Tai. He can fold space, or she can fold space and time, that now our soul is trapped like a bird in a cage. At that time, they are able to move their body with the power of the soul. Now we open this TV. Example. How many different screens is one screen, but we can divide it into 18 screens and see many different places. We can see and we can hear. Why? Because those waves are coming to that instrument. He said, if this is only a TV, what do you think about the instrument of the heart of a human being? That it is said, Ma wasiyat ardi wala samai walakin. The heaven and earth cannot contain the divine, but the heart of the sincere seeker. So he said, in our time, there are many fake masters. I am not a master. I am not even a student. We are only taking from their teachings to remind myself first and us. And he said that these fake ones, they will make people like a parrot to repeat the same sicknesses they are carrying because they are not real masters. We have this in Sufism, we have it in all paths. And the problem is that these seekers, instead of looking for wisdom, they look for these sunflower seeds that the parrot is eating and spitting out, and they start to repeat only the same phrases that these fake gurus, or we can see this in advertising in the world, people begin to repeat same phrases or same beliefs. He said now the world became a global village. And these masters, when the real masters want to connect people, they will be able to raise them to these realities, but this requires many different disciplines and principles and practices, and this is all the way of Tasawwuf, Sufism, or spirituality. So he said, it's very easy in spirituality to deviate to the right or to the left, and that's why it's important to seek in your heart to find a true saint, a true master that can guide you. We won't make it too long. And he said that, and this is important, there was a student of one of our masters, and he was struggling with himself till one day he found himself in the Sufi Zawiya alone. And he was saying to himself, I am the worst one. There is no one worse than me on earth. He was saying this to himself. Some might say, if they misinterpret, this is not good because it sounds like he's being too hard on himself. But in his case, he reached a level of humility that he was seeing himself, all of his bad characters, because they were being pulled from him. And as they were being pulled from him, he was seeing himself with humility, I am the last one from earth. And his master, his name was Orkalisa Muhammad. And he was saying, if I am insincere in my belief that I am the worst one on earth, the last one, may my wife be divorced from me. So he was really sincere. And this story, it said that his master was observing him and was happy from this student because he was looking, the heart of this student reached the highest level of emptiness. They said that if you want the master to pour in your heart, you need to empty the cup first, then they can pour. May he empty our cups so we can take some light. So he said at that time, he called him and he said, I will give you the secret now of initiation into the path. And they sat on their knees, as we are sitting, but on the knees, on the ground. And he put his finger and he began to open these 6 realities that we were talking about in his heart. At that time, what happened? He began to float to the ceiling of the Zawiya and then came down and floating. Why? He has no more gravity. The gravity of his ego was taken from him. And this is, he said, in the time of Rumi, everyone knows, maybe you know Jalaluddin Rumi, when they were whirling, they used to physically raise up. Now we are seeing whirlers who are stuck on the ground or even under the ground we are going. We cannot raise up anymore because our ego is keeping us. But he said, this is real spiritual connection if it is real, it will take you from one side of the ocean, means the ocean of slavery of this life, and it will bring you to what you never imagined you would see or hear or realize from within yourself. And this is a rare and priceless. And he said that these masters, even because we are weak now and veiled in our time and became very difficult time of darkness on earth, he said they planned this, like today we heard about so many different spiritual realities from these masters. He said one day, the master he planted in your heart, one day they will make it to flower. It might be we can't access it at this time. So we ask that he will grant us happiness and cure us, our hearts. And he said in Sufism, and we'll finish with this, we try to find our true self, this reality within ourselves. And so the goal of Sufism is not to be yourself. This is strange. But now everyone says what? They say be yourself. But our master is saying don't be yourself. This is for myself first. He said if you will be yourself, you will be veiled. But it's better to say that we know nothing, to come empty and weak, and to say that we know nothing, and to try to abandon our self, means our ego, so that he can grant us from our true self, our spiritual self, and nafs al-mutma'in. And he said that's why you find people fighting today, because they come with their self and they want to convince the other one, no, this is blue, no, this is black. They begin to fight, especially husband and wife or brother and sister, and everything become apart. He said that in spirituality is to improve ourselves so that we can remove these bad manners one by one, and with humbleness and with love, and then we should find our reality. We ask that he grant us from his heavenly inspiration to be aware of each breath, inshallah, to practice this. And we will take a moment of yes, we will take a moment at the end to practice this breathing, inshallah, and to have some more music and maybe one joke or one poem if it's allowed, inshallah. إلى حضرة النبي الفاتحة.
So instead of saying be yourself, you could say live yourself.
Live yourself. Don't be yourself, he said. I'm not saying that. Hi, he said hi. What does it mean, hi? Hi, in English, means hello. In Arabic, hi means living, ever living, eternal life. So said, when you say hi to people, say hi to them, to their eternal beings. You should find that love to be flowing through every meeting you have with people. And meetings like this are not to be sad but to be happy. He said the sign of a real spiritual gathering, you come heavy and sad and you go happy and light. May he grant us all, inshallah.
Where is Ali? He left. Do you have anything you want to address before this point? Any question or anything? If not, we are going to do a small chanting zikr, and then we're going to have some, because we didn't hear yet from, he just gave us a small taste. So we'll do some zikr and then have done with others. But if you have any question, feel free to ask. There's no problem. We are.
Je peux le poser en français.
Oui, bien sûr, bien sûr. Whatever you're comfortable with.
Quand vous dites trouver notre réalité, est-ce que c'est une des 6 réalités dont vous parliez dans le cœur ou c'est une autre réalité?
Ah. Notre maître nous a enseigné chaque être humain il est créé avec une lumière divine. Et le Coran, il dit Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi rajiun. Donc, avant qu'on était dans cette vie, avant qu'on était né dans the womb, it's Mother's Day, so in the womb of our mother, at a certain point, in less than the speed of light, he said, faster than the speed of light, and this is Inna lillahi, he said, from the divine presence, Alam al-Arwah, our soul came, and that's why at 40 days in the womb of the mother, the heart begins to beat. Before that, there is no soul. He said, the soul comes from Bahr al-Qudra, in one moment it comes. And we are in the womb of our mother, and we are unveiled at that time. We are able to see angels, heavens, the divine presence. We are, when we are born, after, in the first 40 days also, they said the baby is unveiled. After that time, the veil of the egos and different influences from our surrounding come and veil us from this original reality. So this spiritual secret that, because like every snowflake, Sheikh Omar was saying last night, every snowflake is unique. Every day there is a new sun that is unique. Every day ourselves also are new and unique. So each human being has a reality that's within his heart, that is the reality of his spiritual secret, his soul. That is the reason why we were created. And it is said that human beings are created with a beginning but no end. And each human being has a unique spiritual secret. And our Sheikh Nazim, he said, there are 3 things you need to know. Where do I come from? Why am I here? And where am I going? He said, if you answer these 3 questions, reality will open to you. And this reality is bigger than these 6 secrets. But these 6 secrets, they are opened, he said, to the heart of the seeker at the beginning when that seeker becomes ready to reach to that state of enlightenment. He will open at first those 6 powers of the heart. Hakikatul Faiz, Hakikatul Tawajjuh, Hakikatul Irshad, Hakikatul Tai, Hakikatul Tawassul, Hakikatul Tawajjuh. I think these are the 6. They are different powers of the heart. But the reality of a human being, he said, one ray is coming from our soul to our lives now, like one ray from the sun, but our reality is always in the divine presence. And that's why he said, every human being will be in paradise. Because he said, Grand Sheikh Abdullah Dagestani, if your clothes get dirty, for example, let's say I get, do we say the body became dirty? No. What we do, we take the clothes to the dry cleaner, they wash them, they come clean again. He said, in this life, we are only have a small part of our reality, but the soul stays clean in the divine presence.
the goal of spirituality and all of these practices, awareness of the breath and zikr that we are doing and following a master, is to open that reality, as it is said, to die before you die. So, to reach to eternal life before our soul is taken. And this is obviously, to reach this reality, few are able to reach it, to become enlightened masters, but everyone has, it is said, the potential. And everyone, if they cannot reach it, our master said in the last 7 breaths, they will expand. And because God is merciful, He didn't create us to punish us. He didn't create us to harm us. He didn't create us to oppress us. No. He created us to know ourselves, to know this reality. Is this suitable?
I have questions.
Yes.
Specifically regarding the 3 questions that Maulana Sheikh Nazim said that we want to answer, or we want to find the answers for, like, why am I here, and where am I going?
Where am I coming from?
Where I'm coming from, yeah. Specifically, those the 2 last questions: why am I here, or where am I coming from? Are these answers we seek sort of outside of us, or are these answers that we choose the answer for, or?
He said everyone has to look at their conscience, their heart. It will guide them. But he did say, we do know from traditional teachings where we are coming from. We are coming, all of us, from the divine presence. We were souls in the divine presence. We are created from divine light, our souls. And so this is where we come from. And why we are here, he said we are here to know ourselves. Man arifa nafsahu faqad arifa rabbah. And we are going back to the divine presence. So we are coming from that and going to that. And while we are here, we have been given each moment, each breath, to know ourselves. As much as we can know ourselves, we can know about our Lord, our reality. It means about this, not only about ourselves, but once we can know ourselves, he said, we can know everyone and everything in creation. Because once the servant will become enlightened, he will be given wisdom. Sheikh Nazim, he said, at that moment, every plant will be able to speak to you and tell you what its benefit and its harm was. And that's how Sufi masters and other saints, they were using different plants and they brought different medicines, and they were saying, avoid these plants because they will be harmful to you. And take from this for cancer, take from this from diabetes, take from this. This is only a basic, we are to giving an example, how they are able to talk with animals, with plants, with nature, with everything. It will at that time teach them, and they will, those enlightened masters, if humanity was knowing what is kept as secret in their heart from their enlightenment, it is said they will go into prostration thinking this is God. So much is great, so much God gave potential to each human being when they will be enlightened. If not, as he said, we remain as slaves in this life, in a prison. As Prophet said, dunya asijnul mu'min. This dunya is a prison. You can go, you can come, you can eat like in prison, but you are stuck in the walls of the limitedness of time, space, and physicality. But saints, they went out of this physical constraints, they became free, and they are given this power to guide people. And that's why it was said by our Grand Sheikh, who is more in need? The student for the master or the master for the student? We all think, of course, traditionally, the student needs the master, which is true also, because without the master, we cannot go anywhere. But he said, in reality, the master needs the student, because why he will be given all of these treasures spiritually and realize them, except to use them to help the servant to reach his reality. And Jalaluddin Rumi, that's why he said, if you look at the hammam, in Morocco they have hammam, or Turkey, bath, he said, everything is functioning perfectly. They used to bring the dung, I'm saying a nice word for it, I don't want to say the bad word, from the animal they bring its dung, its waste, to light the fire that will purify those that sit in the steam bath. So Rumi, he said, most of the people work to bring the dung. Few get a chance to sit to purify, but they are all working together. But better to be the one that enters to purify himself. And the divine presence is merciful and loving. So he said, the only way to know this is to follow your heart, follow your conscience. It will guide you to know this reality, to realize this reality in this life. If it's good, it came from your heart. If it's bad, forgive me. Okay, we can do small zikr, small chanting, meditation, inshallah. You want to play that during the... Yeah, maybe he will know. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. And we are beginning to ask forgiveness for ourselves, for our families, and for all of humanity, turning to take away our burdens. Astaghfirullah, 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 astaghfirullah الذي لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم وأتوب إليه إن الله تواب رحيم يا مسبب الأسباب يا مفتح الأبواب يا مقلب القلوب والأبصار يا دليل المتحيرين يا غياث المستغيثين يا حي يا قيوم يا بديع السماوات والأرض يا ذا الجلال والإكرام فوض أمري إلا الله إن الله بصير بالعباد رابطة تشرف. Connect your heart for some moments. We try to leave this materialistic dunya world behind us to connect with Mawla, with the divinely presence, through the holy prophet's presence and presence of our Shaykh and masters and all the awliya and enlightened ones. And Jesus Christ, it is said in a tradition, he said, the most beautiful words my Lord taught me were, La ilaha illallah. To say, oh my ego, La ilaha, there is no ilah except Him, the reality, the oneness. To address our ego, and he said, Prophet Muhammad, the one who will say La ilaha will enter paradise. فَلَمْ أَنَّهُ لا إله إلا الله 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 illallah, la ilaha 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 illallah, Muhammadun Rasulullah, alayhi salatullah, la ilaha illallah, 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 la ilaha illallah. And to move then to say the name Allah, to enter to the oneness of His all-encompassing name. And we say, Allah bi dhikri tatma'in al-qulub, verily, to repeat His name, Allah, brings peace and satisfaction and happiness to the heart. And in Quran, there is an ayah that says, Ya ayyuhal nafs Allah, 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 And then to say the name Hu, which we mentioned earlier, is the sound of the breath, and to connect with His absolute unknown essence. Ya Allahu, Allah Akbar, Allahu, Allah Akbar, Allahu, Allah Akbar, Allahu, Allah, Hayy,
then we are going to repeat the different divine names, like Al-Wadud, the loving one, Ar-Rahman, the merciful one, and asking to be dressed from the oceans of those different names and attributes, and to enter into those names, to swim in them, and to be dressed with this heavenly light and love. Ya Daim, Ya Daim, Ya Daim, Ya Allah, Ya Daim, Ya Daim, Ya Daim, Ya Allah, Ya Halim, Ya Halim, Ya Halim, Ya Allah, Ya Halim, Ya Halim, Ya Halim, Ya Allah, Ya Wadud, Ya Wadud, Ya Wadud, Ya Allah, Ya Kareem, Ya Kareem, Ya Kareem, Ya Allah, Ya Latif, Ya Latif, Ya Latif, Ya Allah, Ya Salam, Ya Salam, Ya Salam, Ya Allah, Ya Aman, Ya Aman, Ya Aman, Ya Allah, Ya Subhan, Ya Subhan, Ya Subhan, Ya Allah, Ya Sultan, Ya Sultan, Ya Sultan, Ya Allah, 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 Ya Allah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. 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 حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل، نعم المولى ونعم النصير، لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. We need to take one moment to ask for our Master to connect with your holy heart and with a light to our hearts, to connect with His holy presence, divinely presence, to connect us there to the presence of prophets and Sayyidina Muhammad and all awliya, and to take short time, 1 minute, to focus on each inhalation and each exhalation, to be practice this principle, to be aware of each breath. الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد وسلم 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 يا رب وسلم على جميع الأنبياء والمرسلين وعليهم كلنا أجمعين والحمد لله رب العالمين على أشرف من سيدنا محمد الصلوات على أفضل العالمين سيدنا محمد الصلوات على أكمل العالمين سيدنا محمد الصلوات صلوات الله تعالى وملائكته وأنبياء رسوله جميع خلقه على محمد وعلى آل محمد عليهم السلام ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته الذين تبارك وتعالى صلاتنا على أصحاب رسول الله أجمعين ونتابعين بهم بالإحسان وإمة المجتهدين الماضين وإعظم المتقين ولأولياء الصالحين وأن مشايخنا في تارك النقشبندية العليا قدس الله تعالى أرواحهم الزكية ونور الله تعالى وجهتهم مباركة وعد الله تعالى من بركات مفيدة دائما والحمد لله رب العالمين. We are sending all of our meditation, our zikr, our chanting, to the presence of our enlightened masters, خاصة شاه نقشبند محمد ويس الخير سيدنا سلطان الأولياء الشيخ عبد الرفيق الشيخ محمد نازم الحقاني Madad al-Haq Sheikh Muhammad Shafrani and all the enlightened masters to be presented to the gate of all Anbiya, especially Sayyidina Muhammad, to the divinely presence to take our imperfect and weak recitation and dress us, Ya Rab, dress us with forgiveness, with mercy, with your love, and grant us to keep these teachings with us, to be every moment, grant us to be aware of each of our breaths, grant us to take more light, more power, more love, especially in this difficult time, Ya Rabbi, and grant all of humanity to reach to your oceans of love, oceans of peace, oceans of sa'ada, and open for us, Ya Rabbi, not because we are deserving, but we are asking for your mercy, coming to you empty through the door of humility and forgiveness and humbleness. We're asking, we don't know anything, O our Lord, we're asking, dress us from your love and light, from your wood, dress us from Al-Wadud, ذو العرش المجيد فعال لما يريد هل أتاك حديث فرعون والجنود للذين كفروا في تكذيب والله من رائع محيط بل هو القرآن مجيد في الأخ المحفوظ والله الخير حافظا وهو أرحم الراحمين إن ولي الله الذي نزل الكتاب هو تولي الصالحين ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. Grant us to go light like feathers, like butterflies, and forgive us for the sake of all prophets, all holy ones, enlightened ones, and grant us the blessings of this day, and all of our mothers bless them, and all of our fathers bless them, and our children bless them, and grant us to reach to the time of Jesus Christ and Mahdi alayhi salam in the golden era for humanity, and especially take away all of our sins and difficulties and illnesses. Ila hadarati nabi al-Fatiha. Dites-moi.
Si on a encore un peu de temps, on peut lire quelques poèmes de sages mystiques.
Merci. And we have some cookies, so don't leave without the cookie.
Et j'ai sélectionné un poème très connu d'un maître soufi qui s'appelle Younous Emre. Il est très connu. D'ailleurs, il y a une série sur Netflix qui en
Ah, yes,
Younous Emre. Il a vécu en Turquie actuelle au temps des Seljoukides, c'est-à-dire dans le 11e siècle, 10e, 11e siècle. Et il était connu pour être un grand savant de jurisprudence, un avocat, un juge plutôt, et un grand juge très connu. À un moment donné, dans sa vie, il était dans une quête spirituelle et il a rencontré un maître qui s'appelle Haji Bektash, et la lumière.
C'est le mot de Haji Bektash.
Haji Bektash. C'était sa lumière qui était apparue. Et donc,
un grand saint.
Il a cheminé avec son maître jusqu'à ce qu'il reçoive l'illumination. Au début, lorsqu'il était encore juge, il était dans une compréhension très carrée de la tradition islamique. Donc, il était contre toute poésie, contre toute musique, contre toute activité non orthodoxe. Et à un moment donné, lorsqu'il a cheminé et a rencontré son maître, il a commencé à avoir des états spirituels internes qui ont façonné son cœur et qui l'ont désoxydé, comme on dit. Ce chant soufi ou cette
mantra zikr is a repetition of divine names, like we just did.
Il disait que ça désoxyde le cœur de toutes les influences de cette dunya, de toutes les influences de son ego, de tout ce qui peut le voiler. Et c'est devenu un poète très réputé, un mystique très connu, et qui a impacté beaucoup la pensée turque actuelle, la pensée ottomane qui est venue par la suite. Donc j'ai pris un extrait d'un de ses poèmes les plus réputés. Il dit, c'est l'univers est empli du juste, pourtant nul ne connaît le juste. Il te faut le chercher en toi-même, car il n'est point séparé de toi. Comme l'expliquait Sidi Hussein tout à l'heure dans ses enseignements. Cette réalité, on commence par la chercher ailleurs, à l'extérieur, mais on la retrouve à l'intérieur de nous-mêmes et de notre cœur. Tu crois en ce monde et tu dis de ce pain qu'il t'appartient, de ce pain ou de cette eau. Pourquoi de tels mensonges? Ce que tu dis n'existe pas. Dans ce monde, nous venons et passons. Nous buvons une chope, nous passons un plan, et l'ignorant ne sait pas. Rien ne nous appartient. Venez, connaissons-nous les uns les autres, et que notre travail reste simple. Aimons-nous les uns les autres, nul ne reste en ce monde. Si tu comprends la parole de Younous, qui est le poète, si tu écoutes les mots de Manas, alors fais des actions de bonté, nul ne reste en ce monde. Fin de citation.
Sheikh Mateen, you came for the cookies.
That's good. That's good.
So we're going to finish with it's a joke, Sufi joke of Nasruddin Hoxha. And Rumi, he said, before we go into Mullah Nasruddin's story, he said that if you become addicted to looking back, half your life will be spent in distraction and the other half in regret. And he said also, Jalaluddin Rumi, may his secret dress us, make everything in you an ear, each atom of your being, and you will hear at every moment what the source is whispering to you. And Nasruddin Hoja, one day, he met a man who was wandering the world. And he had all of his belonging in one bag, like Metin carries one bag. And he was searching for happiness, but he was complaining, like me. Nothing in life had given him joy or contentment. And suddenly, Mullah Nasruddin, he grabbed the bag of the man and he ran down the road. The man yelled, "Stop! These are all my life's possessions. What are you doing?" He was angry. He had everything in that bag and the man took it and was running. The mullah was very fast and easily outran the man, and around a curve in the road, he dropped the bag on the street and he hid himself in concealment. Upon discovering this bag, the seeker shouted with joy and relief on finding his possessions. And then the Mullah Nasruddin, he appeared and he said, before you get angry, notice that now you feel happy. Before you were not present with the joy of your belongings until you lost them. May you learn to cherish what you have. There is no explanation needed for this, obviously. But we are, especially in the West now, most of us don't appreciate what we have till we lose it. So, and we will finish with this before the cookies. I chose this poem of Rumi because he speaks about the breath, as we spoke about Hosh Dardan, the first principle of Naqshbandi Tariqa, to be aware of each breath. And Rumi, he speaks a lot about the breath in his poetry and in his teachings. He said, may he grant us an opening to understand. He said, I'm not going to wait around for the sound of the trumpet to bring me back to life. Love gives me new life. In every moment, in every breath, where is Jesus, whose breath is so holy and overflowing that even if he'd never been born, his name would still be revered? Even though you can't see him with your eyes, you can feel his breathing. Learn how to touch soul in every breath you take and watch yourself turn into him, the Messiah. When your soul is cleansed in every breath you take, you'll understand how to give birth to Jesus every time you breathe. There's a new garden, a new meadow in our soul, a new story, a new legend in our ear in every breath we take. You serve a different wine at your tavern. He means by wine, divine love, not this wine we are vinegar drinking. It brings a different joy and pleasure to every particle of my body in this breath. Oh, you bring death back to life in this breath and offer a brand new glass in this breath and a bottle of wine
means divine love coming toward me in this breath. We're engulfed by soul sea in every breath we take. If that's so, then why do these waves keep coming one after the other from the ocean of the heart? The smell of the beloved is on my breath. There are gardens and meadows and jasmine. Your breath is food for the brides of the garden. This is from Jalaluddin Rumi, Qaddasallahu Sir. Alhamdulillah. Our master Sheikh Nazim, he taught us. They asked him, how can we connect with you? Our master, how can we connect with you? He said, you don't need any special practice. Just call on me, I will be there. As soon as you call me, like a telephone, I will be present with you. I will be. And it said that when the master is present with you, al-hudur al-mashayikh, first you love your master. After it said you will begin to feel his presence and you will begin to smell a scent like roses, or each master has a particular scent that comes. May he grant us from their presence through each breath, through each moment in our life, and save us from this difficult life we are in now, and grant us more love, and grant us to come more to these meetings, inshallah, to awaken ourselves. We are not here to teach something. We are here to learn first. We are in need. We are we are weak, and we know through our actions we can't go anywhere. We are hoping in His mercy, His love to guide us, inshallah. So thank you for coming. We hope you are happy.